Heroes. Gotta pull a wax back hero. Gold stars in his eyes. Hero! Jesse, this is the part of the show where we open up a wax pack from the junk wax era, and we just want to see how much each of these packs are worth. We also like to, if we can remember the players, tell some stories, throw some nicknames out there, anything we remember about these players. We scored this on using a May 1992 Beckett baseball card weekly or monthly. That way, these cards have some. Oh, it's Steve Avery is on the cover.
All right.
That way, these cards have some value. We used a 2019 to start out with, and there was not a whole lot of value happening there. We do have a couple of extra rules. We will give you an extra point if the player is sporting a mustache, as a lot of them did at this point. If they are wearing real stirrups that we can see, you get an extra cent there. If they are wearing the dreaded 2-in-1 fake stirrups, you minus a point because that's just not cool.
No.
And if they're a Hall of Famer, you get an extra 5 cents. So last week, Brad Balukjian, the author of the Wax Pack book, rocketed atop our leaderboard. He brought his own pack of 86 tops and ended up with $1.08. As I was telling you beforehand, I got a brand new shipment of wax packs here, and you have elected to go with the 87 Fleer, which is in 1992 was a highly valued pack, and there are some big money cards here that will blow everybody out of the water should you pull one. So
Let it ride.
This is very exciting, and Flair, if you remember, did not stick gum in here. They had puzzle pieces, so that's also a bonus.
Which were way too chewy, by the way.
But okay, so we're going to start off here. We got a sticker. It's pretty good sticker. It's a full-size sticker. Sometimes they'll give you 4 smaller ones. Here's the Minnesota Twins. And on the back,
I don't know about anybody else, but my baseball card binders, I took those stickers and the stickers covered the front of my binder.
Yeah, I had those white boxes that you would put your whole set in, and I'm staring at them because I just dug them out, and they are littered with these stickers all over them. All right, so here we're going to get into your proper pack. First, we're going to start off with somebody that I do not remember. He is pitching for the Montreal Expos, though, a right-hander, Jay Tibbs.
I think later on he pitched for the Baltimore Orioles, which is how I remember him. But at the very least, you get to look at those beautiful Expos jerseys.
Yeah, this was definitely taken during spring training because he's wearing a red pullover. But the good news for you, the card is not worth anything, but he is wearing real stirrups. So right out of the gate there, you've got 1 cent.
You know how Beckett lists all the cards that you need to actually think about, and then they put, here's all the cards that you don't need to think about and how much they are worth, and there's Jay Tibbs right in that category.
Yeah, they've got commons listed as being 1 cent here, so that's we just go with the stirrups there.
Okay.
Next, we've got Ken Schrom, a pitcher for the Cleveland Indians.
He sounds like a one-setter.
I am going to guess you are 100% correct, but the good thing is he's got that mustache.
Uh-huh.
Can't see. It's just a shot from the shoulders up at Old Cleveland Stadium, so we can't see about stirrups.
I'm looking up Ken Schrom right now. In 1986, he was an all-star.
Wow. For the Indians, 14-7.
And then 1987 was his last year in the major leagues. So, shooting star.
Well, there's a scouting report on the back of this where it lists 6 different pitches. Apparently he had 5 pitches and they were all rated good. He did not have a screwball though. So,
well, did he throw a knuckler?
That is not one of the ones listed. I guess it just didn't happen common enough. All right. Finally, at least somebody I've heard of, Vance Law.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to say Vance Law is a 5-center.
Ooh, I think that might be a little high.
Oh.
Let's see. Card number 323. It is a common. But Vance Law has got that sweet, sweet 80s mustache. Well, I've thought about adding an extra cent if they're wearing those big like science teacher glasses, prescription glasses that take up half your face. He's got those, but so that is just 1 cent. I know him because he is from Utah and I grew up in Utah, and he and Bruce Hurst were really the only two players, and Corey Snyder went to BYU. Those were like the three guys I knew from Utah. You got a lot of pitchers. Next, we've got Joe Johnson from the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, with a name like Joe Johnson, there's obviously only one of those guys in the world.
I was about to say, he's got a pretty good jump shot, too.
Yeah, I have no recollection of him, but he is sporting real stirrups, and he has got a real thick mustache. So there's a 2-center right there.
All right.
Regardless of his career, no matter what happened, he was a 2-center at Waxpacks Heroes.
All right, now we've got another pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, Ed Olwine.
I would say he sounds like another 1 center. Poor Ed.
100%, and he is clean shaven, and it's only from the shoulders up. And
now, as a member of the Atlanta Braves, the Braves were terrible.
Yes, they were.
Yes. This was probably the time when Dale Murphy was about the only thing they had going for them in 87.
Yeah, if you're pitching for the Braves at this point, they're just pulling up everybody from the minor leagues that they can until Smoltz and Glavine and Avery are ready.
This was the Zane Smith era.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so here's your first kind of big name. I'll give you his nickname. It should be a giveaway, Bedrock. Steve
Bedrosian.
Absolutely. Nice. And his son now pitches for the Angels, also nicknamed Cameron. Bedrock. Yep, Cam.
Mm-hmm. Boy, how good is Steve's beard in that photo?
Yeah, it's surprisingly enough very thick.
One of the best.
I'm a little surprised, though. The card is considered a common, though. But that is worth 1 cent, though, because of the mustache.
He was one of those guys that I think that relievers hit a certain point, in the 90s and the early 2000s, where relievers were highly respected. Bedrosian was a good reliever at a time that relievers were not respected.
Yeah, exactly. Next, now you like Alan Trammell. You mentioned Lou Whitaker, the kind of the middle infielder guys. This guy played a lot of second base for the Kansas City Royals. Frank White. Yeah. Let's see.
So we'll see if Beckett disrespects him.
Oh, they're going to.
Any Royals fan would say that Frank White is at least a 25 center.
Yeah, I know Frank White is revered by Royals fans, but this is common, according to Beckett's.
I think that's very much the bias against Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, he was 13 years into his career, too, all with the Royals at this point.
I mean, he's getting down to the very end, and he's still probably winning Gold Gloves.
Yeah, I remember him. And he's got a nice Jerry curl going on, too.
The Royals in the 70s and the 80s, and then they recaptured glory very briefly recently. But boy, was Kansas City a great baseball town.
Yeah, it was. I remember, when the Royals played the Cardinals, that was in 85 in the World Series, correct?
Right.
That was crazy how everybody went nuts for that. Yeah. He does have a mustache, though, so you do get 1 cent on that card.
All right.
Next, we get, I guess this guy's kind of more infamous now than revered or popular or even liked, but Wally Backman for the New York Mets.
Have you ever seen the YouTube documentary of Wally Backman? What was he, with South Georgia?
I don't believe I have.
Okay, both of you, recommended. Look this up on YouTube. Find it. I think the South Georgia Peanuts, whatever team it was with, in the South Georgia Independent League, this is so worth your time.
I will do that. Speaking of YouTube things that you should watch. Have you seen the team produced it about Jeff Francoeur when he was with the El Paso Chihuahuas?
Yes.
And a teammate pretended for the entire season that he was it deaf?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. He was hearing impaired.
That is a great piece of storytelling there.
It was well put together. It was well executed. And I think that Jeff Francoeur, who at one point developed a terrible rap, right? Because he was a very bad free swinger. And so he would never capture his true major league potential as a good hitter who could not draw a walk. So he was overvalued by his teams. That redeemed him as a guy because everyone realized Jeff Francoeur is a really great dude.
Yeah, here in Oakland, they love him. They would just the guys out in right field would just razz him the entire game, but he played along. He at one point ordered pizzas and had them delivered to them up there. And at one point went out and tailgated with them out in the parking lot before the game.
We had that in the Midwest League. And I remember when it happened thinking this is a Jeff Francoeur moment. It was a thirsty Thursday. We were taking on the Kane County Cougars, and the fans out beyond the left field wall were merciless. When suddenly, here comes this tall guy walking up to them wearing a King County bullpen jacket. And he said, "Hey, the left fielder said if you cheer for him the rest of the game, drinks are on him." And the guy dropped cash into the hands of the fans. And he said, "He's got you covered." And the left fielder gave him the wave. And for the rest of the game on the road, our left field fans loved the King County left fielder.
He must have been a high draft pick if he could do that in the minor leagues to be able to drop cash like that.
I don't even remember who this guy was, but he was a legend.
All right, so Wally Backman is a common. You know what? I'm going to give you 2 cents. He's got a mustache. You can't see his stirrups, but the picture ends kind of midway down his shin, and I can see that arch, that telltale arch that he is wearing real stirrups underneath his pants.
Naturally, he was the poor man's Lenny Dykstra.
There you go.
Another infamous former Met at this point. I guess from that like 86 team, it's hard to not call anybody infamous that was on that team. But yeah.
Well, if you've read any of the stories about Kevin Elster or about Kevin Mitchell or Doc Gooden or Darryl Strawberry, whoa. But Wally Backman and Carlos Beltran hold the record for shortest tenures for a manager, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
And both with the Mets. Backman was in the Mets minor league team, wasn't he? Or was that somebody else?
Who was it? Was Backman with the Mets or the Arizona Diamondbacks? Whichever major league team hired him as their manager and then reversed course.
Yeah, because he got in some trouble off the field. Yeah, I don't remember who it was, but yeah, it's a Mets thing. So next we've got pitcher for the White Sox, Bill Dali, Dawley. I'm going to guess I know where that one's going. Yes.
That's a one center.
Yes, absolutely. And no mustache. He is wearing a warm-up jacket, though, which is not something you see a lot. But he apparently came up with the Astros. And
look at those stats with the Astros. He was an all-star his very first year in the major leagues. And then his next year, 60 relief appearances and a 1.93 ERA. Boy, they must have thought that they had something with him. He's in his mid-20s, so there's no illusion that his prime is going to last long. And then suddenly his career took a turn after the Astros, the White Sox, the Cardinals, and then it was done. He was a reliever for 5 years where he gave a lot of time out of the bullpen, and that was it for him.
Now, if he would have been a lefty, though, he might still be playing today.
That's true.
Big dude, too, at 6'5", 235.
All right, so that is not worth anything. Next is, we've talked about this guy. This guy was an underrated power guy for the Cincinnati Reds, Cal Daniels.
I love Cal Daniels. Is he wearing his glasses?
Oh, yeah. Those are they look like the transition lenses. They're not small, but yeah, he's ready to grip and rip in BP right here. He's standing outside the cage.
You know, the shame of it was he was so good with the Reds. And then when the Reds won the World Series, he was playing for the Dodgers.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember him with the Dodgers. this is good news for you. That is a 15-cent card right there.
Well, all right. Respect.
Cal Daniels. Very nice. That is your big money card thus far. Let's see. So you are at 24 cents right now. You're not going to retire on this pack, but it's next we've got outfielder for the St. Louis Cardinals, Curt Ford.
Not to be confused with Curt Flood.
I looked at that and I immediately thought Curt Flood. Curt Ford looks like he's kind of a utility outfielder. He's got some good speed, but I don't know that that's going to help him in Beckett.
No, this is going to bring us up to 25 cents.
No, actually it's not, because it's not worth anything, and does not have a mustache, and I can't see.
Oh, well, yeah. Sorry, Kurt. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but this next one is going to help you out. You've got your first Hall of Famer.
All right.
Maybe one of those Hall of Famers that might not really deserve to be among the Hall. Rice? Is it who?
Jim Rice?
No. Thank you for saying that, though.
That's exactly where I was going. That's funny.
Is it Harold Baines?
It is not. It is the third of the group of players that kind of get questioned as to he's a pitcher. If I give you the team, it's going to be a dead giveaway. He is a broadcaster now. Morris. There you go. Exactly. Oh. Jack Morris.
I know my guys who shouldn't be in Cooperstown.
So that card is worth 20 cents, according to Beckett. He's got a mustache, and he's a Hall of Famer. So that is a 26-cent card.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That bumps you up to 50 cents right there. That more than doubled your score with one card.
Here's my favorite Jack Morris trivia question. Greatest game he ever pitched is one of the greatest games anybody's ever pitched, right? 91 Game 7 World Series. Mm-hmm. So the very next World Series, 1992, Game 1, who was on the mound for the American League?
Jack Morris pitching for the Blue Jays?
Jack Morris started Game 1 for the Toronto Blue Jays the very next year.
I didn't remember that. Wow.
Jack Morris, that's a good card.
Oh, yeah.
All right, next we go from a Hall of Fame pitcher to Ted Power of the Cincinnati Reds. No offense, Ted, but...
Isn't Ted like a motivational speaker or something, Ted Power?
I think he's one of those guys that goes around and is a motivational speaker and tears phone books.
Oh, yeah, that's it, Ted Power.
And bends rebarb with his bare hands.
Does he call them TED Talks?
He did, but then he didn't trademark it, and then he lost out. So... But you know what? I think Ted Power might be coaching somewhere. I seem to remember seeing his name on some kind of as a pitching coach somewhere. But that card is not worth anything. He does not have a mustache.
Sorry, Ted.
Next, we've got George Frazier for the Minnesota Twins. George's got a nice mustache. This is taken during batting practice at Fenway Park because there is the Green Monster there in the background, which makes this card cooler right off the beginning.
What I remember about George Frazier was he was part of the New York Yankees losing the 81 World Series because he was so terrible.
Just the way he wants to be remembered.
Let me give you his stats in the World Series, right? He's a reliever. He appeared in 3 games in the World Series. He lost all 3 of them.
Wow.
But look at his numbers from the regular season. So that he was a rookie in 81. He appeared in 16 games. He pitched 28 innings, and his ERA was 1.61 with 17 strikeouts, but 11 walks.
Yeah.
So,
and in the end, in the postseason, his command really deserted him.
Yeah. Might have been too big of a stage for a rookie at that point.
It happens.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so that is 1 cent there for the mustache. Next, we've got, I remember this guy, Dave Anderson, infielder for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Those were some fun Dodgers teams. Like we're going through the great teams of the 1980s with the Royals and the Tigers, and now onward to Tommy Lasorda's crew.
Yeah, so we had Steve Sachs, Pedro Guerrero. Was Brett Butler on the team in center field at that point?
I don't know. Brett Butler was with the Indians at one point.
Braves, and I know he was with the Dodgers. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was around that time. But that's a nice card to look at, but that's about it. No value on that one.
I think it was Steve Sachs at the time who Tommy Lasorda asked him after a game. He's like, "What is everybody thinking out there? What are you even thinking?" And he says it to Sachs, and Sachs goes, "I got two things I'm thinking." And Lasorda goes, "Okay, what are they?" And he goes, "First, please don't hit it to me." And the entire room's cracking up. And I go, "Okay, what's the second thing?" And he goes, "I don't want him to hit it to Guerrero either."
Oh, that's good. I think Alfredo Griffin might have been at shortstop at
Yeah, I
that
think
point.
you're right. Yeah.
Mike Scioscia, the catcher.
Oh yes,
I think Mike
Scioscia.
Marshall was on first base.
Or
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
and Mickey Hatcher might have been on the Dodgers at that point.
The
Yeah.
hilarious Mickey Hatcher.
Yeah, I've got 2 baseball cards of him with that huge, oversized, novelty mitt.
The giant glove.
Yeah. All right.
Still, that glove though in those pictures is still smaller than Louis Polonia's glove.
I knew you were going to go there.
I have to.
All right, so you're down to your last 2 cards here.
All right, let's finish strong.
This guy I remember because I loved the Padres in. I love the taco uniforms, but I loved the brown pinstripe uniforms as well. And this guy was an outfielder along with Tony Gwynn, and Carmelo Martinez was at first, and John Kruk was at first as well. Marvell Wynn.
Oh, wow.
It's a great name, and he put together a nice career there in San Diego, I think.
Yeah, now Marvell Wynn, I know, has a son that plays professional soccer in the MLS.
That's great knowledge. That's great
random
knowledge.
I couldn't tell you where, but I know I just heard that randomly, and then I pulled a Marvell Wynn card. He's got a good mustache, but that is about all that card is worth. Now, this one will be interesting. You might get a couple of cents off it from Beckett. Second baseman for the New York Yankees, Willie Randolph.
I should hope so. With the New York bias, with how well Randolph was regarded, give us at least 15 cents here.
I'm going to disappoint. And I am disappointed. This is listed as a common.
How about that?
And I don't know if Fleer grouped. It looks like they grouped people by teams, because I see right above him Ricky Henderson, who was on the Yankees at this point, worth $1. I've got that. I'm a Ricky Henderson fanatic. I've got that card. Then Tommy John, Don Mattingly, and Dave Winfield. And that's it. Only 4 Yankees are not commons in this set. But he does have that mustache. He always had a mustache.
Hang on. Tommy John was not a common, but Willie Randolph was?
Yep.
With all due respect to Tommy John, people weren't even talking about his surgery at this point, right?
87? I got to think he'd had surgery at that point.
Yes. In order to revitalize his career, but it wasn't. Anyway, sorry, Willie Randolph.
Yeah, I've never heard of Willie Randolph surgery. So,
so that is 1 cent for the mustache. So that will bring your total to 53 cents.
All right,
which is not that bad. If it wasn't for Brad last week, that would have put you in 3rd place. But it will put you in 4th place today. You are just behind DB Firstman, who just published a great book, Hall of Name.
I own their book. It's fantastic.
I know. We had a great time doing wax packs with them. Just the names and the anagrams and all that kind of stuff that they came up with pulling the cards was awesome. And then we've got our friend Ben from the Diamonds and Roses podcast, and then Brad up top there with that $1 mark, which is going to be hard to beat. But
I'm proud to be above $50.
Again, I'm afraid you can't retire on this, but that was a lot of fun to go through those names with you.
Back in the day, I could use it to make a couple of phone calls.
Right.
I just always called collect. Let somebody else do it.
You still do, Jeff. That's really weird of you, by the way.
1-800-COLLECT, by the way. Yes. One of our great sponsors. So Jesse, we'd like to thank you very much for coming on with us. We really did appreciate it. This was a lot of fun, and we really appreciate you sharing your stories with us.
Thank you, guys. It's so great to talk baseball.
It certainly is. And to fill these days when that's really all we can do, we really do appreciate it. Do you want to give a shout out where people can find you on social media as well as get a hold of your books?
Sure. You can find me at J Goldstrass, JGOLDSTRASS. And my Baseball Thesaurus and Football Thesaurus were published by August Publications. August like the month. So go to August Publications and pick up a Baseball Thesaurus, now in the 3rd edition. Football Thesaurus too, if you're interested. And I think that folks would really enjoy them.
I know I certainly did, and they've been very helpful. And we'll put a link in the show notes to everywhere that you just mentioned. So thank you very much.
Big thanks to you guys. This was a blast.